What, an aerial pan over an open landscape to open a movie about magic and evil? Is this seriously trying to be Disney's version of The Shining? Look, I don't care if they are witches, this is clear and convincing evidence of blatant overcandling, and they should be executed for that alone.
Another glorious morning. Makes me sick.
Movie steals the opposite things humans say and feel about stuff that's good thing from the Addams Family.
'Tis time.
Damn, someone should tell Beth that she's not on stage and doesn't have to play to the back row. Why the hell is this kid breaking into the house on his own? He told the other boy to summon the townsfolk several minutes ago, and they can clearly see the smoke the witches are putting out from the village. How are they this far behind? So the potion these witches are making is in this cauldron in the center of the room. So what's this other cauldron that's over a fire in the chimney? And how is that creating the convenient thick purple smoke that allowed Thackeray to find this house?
Emily!
If Winifred had these Emperor Palpatine zappy hands, why didn't she use that when she first saw Thackeray? Confusing children for weed.
You hag! There are not enough children in the world to make thee young and beautiful.
That's not enough childrenist. That's right, folks, your girlfriend's favorite nostalgia porn from the 90s features 2 instances of child torture within its first 10 minutes.
What hast thou done with my son Thackeray?
Okay, I get the townspeople are pissed at the witches, but isn't dude still trying to locate his son? Like, why would you kill all 3 of the sisters at the same time if you want answers? Maybe off one, then see if the others talk.
My ungodly book speaks to you. On All Hallows Eve, when the moon is around, a virgin will summon us from under the ground.
First off, why even tell them about the book? Second off, since we find out later that the book can't be burned, why didn't the townspeople at least parallax this so nobody, except maybe Natalie Portman, could stumble upon it?
It just so happens that Halloween is based on the ancient feast called All Hallows Eve.
This girl discount Hilary Swank so hard that I had to remind myself the real version was busy doing The Next Karate Kid around this time.
Here's my number.
Hey man, props for being confident enough to give the hottest girl in your class your number in front of everybody. But did you have to use an entire goddamn notebook page to write this little bit of information in the left corner? I'm sorry, is this even supposed to be the same thing he gave her? Aside from the name and number looking totally different, it appears to be written on the right side of the page rather than the left. It's kind of unbelievable that this kind of continuity is that hard to keep. Jesus Christ, this movie has more suburban New England bike riding footage than a Stephen King adaptation.
You got any cash?
Pretty hard to believe that Max has been in town for a week and he hasn't run into these guys on his way home from school until now. But I just want to sin Hollywood's incessant need for bullies in every single young adult film ever made. This is an orgy of evidence that this is a boys' room. Drums, basketball net, Hellraiser skateboard, dartboard, assorted mounted fake fish, actual fish, and this lamp. And holy what is this lamp? It looks like, I don't know, Paul Revere with a bikini model? With no horse visible, I think this woman is being held up entirely by something around Paul Revere's waist, adding way more context to that British are coming message.
Oh, Allison.
I fantasized about a lot of girls in my high school back in the day, but I'm pretty sure I did not cuddle up with a pillow pretending it was one of them. A stack of Legos with their yearbook photo attached at the top? Sure. Pillow? No.
This is my first time.
Your first time for what? Because later you say,
We used to have so much fun together trick-or-treating.
so I don't understand what the first time is. Is it your first time without mom and dad? Or is it supposed to be your first time trick-or-treating? I think the former requires explanation and the latter is a total lie. Hey, that's weird. The 2 kids dressed up in the same outfits and carrying the same are still outside the Dennison house 2 minutes later. And so is that asshole carrying his backpack and the dude on the bike, and probably a whole bunch of other dicks who are just hanging around and going nowhere.
What are you supposed to be?
A rap singer.
Oh, well, your hat should be on sideways, shouldn't it?
We are the American 90s. We have a president that plays the saxophone, the climate is cool and refreshing, there are slap bracelets and cross trainers, and we can even have fun with stereotypes and cultural jokes that will never be dated.
Everybody pays the toll.
Stuff it, zit face.
Where you live.
This dude is as likable as the actual ice.
So, you're doing a little trick-or-treating. Ding dong! Woo!
I know these bullies are supposed to be dumb and generally hateable, but they have a genuine unlikability on screen that makes the movie itself tough to watch. These buttheads are as stupidly fixated on Max as the ski slope guy was on Stan in that South Park episode.
I miss all my friends. I want to go home.
Look, it's obviously not these kids' fault that these performances are terrible. Thor Birch went on to have some pretty bitchin' success. So couldn't the screenwriters have helped them out a bit? One of the dudes wrote the American Tail stuff, for Christ's sake.
Trick-or-treat.
Trick-or-treat!
Small town or not, is it ever okay to actually go up inside a house to make a trick-or-treat request? I say nay.
Max Dennison.
Holy Spider-Man homecoming coincidence, Batman.
Oh, Allison.
It's both disturbing and hilariously appropriate that there's clearly an Eyes Wide Shut style orgy happening in the parlor of this house right now.
I don't have any. What do you call them, Max? Yabos? Max likes her yabos.
Look, I was a teenager in 1993 and I don't remember anybody calling boobs yabos. In fact, yabos is clearly way dirtier than just calling them boobs. You're telling me they closed this museum years ago but didn't clear out the merchandise? Whoa, and the mother lights on the first try after all this time? Zippos never light the first time, especially when they've been lying dormant for a while. Hell, the entire Tarantino section of 4 Rooms is very dependent on this phenomenon. Based solely on the reaction of the class after Allison made that speech about Halloween, I'm going to call bull on the Sanderson House Museum being completely abandoned and forgotten, when this town clearly loves them some Halloween. This would at the very least be a haunted house attraction. If the cat's main job is to ward off any intruders on Halloween night, why is he just starting now, after they got in and are nosing around? Were there better places for this 300-year-old cat to be tonight?
Legend says that on a full moon it will raise the spirits of the dead when lit by a virgin on Halloween night.
Notice how many different oddball factors have to be true for this to work. Full moon, virgin, Halloween night, and somehow there's a functioning black flame candle, perhaps the same one from 300 years ago, still lying around the old house that's been turned into a tourist attraction.
Oh, come on, it's just a bunch of hocus pocus.
This is such a obvious roll credits moment that I'm convinced the screenwriters started from this point and worked their way outward.
Wake up, sleepyhead.
It makes no sense to me that this book, or really even this house, even exists today. Apparently the old Salem of Salem witch trials fame left everything preserved after they hanged the witches, gave them proper burials under their house, kept the spell book intact, and left key items around the place knowing that one day people would want to spend money to see all this. Also, wouldn't somebody have tried the black flame candle thing already? This is Salem, where the Sanderson sisters are legendary. Somebody who's never before would have lit this candle on Halloween night during a full moon.
I smell children.
Movie unintentionally inspires horribly named Marilyn Manson album, Cherry Clan Candy. Man, these witches are no worse for the wear after being gone 300 years. Normally when an entity comes back from the dead, it takes forever to get their full powers back. Just ask like Voldemort, or Dracula, or Mel Gibson.
You mess with the great and powerful Max, and now must suffer the consequences.
What? This dickhead couldn't even evade 2 dim-witted bullies earlier today, and now he's formulating plans to foil 3 actual witches? Museum that has been shut down for a long time still has operating fire sprinklers.
Nice going, Max.
So the is up with the cat being able to talk all of a sudden? If this is tied to the black flame candle, it doesn't make much sense, because those are 2 completely different spells. The witches cursed Thackeray to be a cat, and absolutely nothing related to it tied into the black flame candle. The only spell tied to the BFC is their resurrection. A whole lot of headaches and movies called Hocus Pocus could have been avoided if Thackeray could have simply talked to his dad 300 years ago.
'Tis a black river.
I guess, sure, you've never seen a road before, but why do you think it's water? You can see leaves lying dormant on it. Nothing about this suggests a river. And yes, they are dumb, but the first 2 times they are tricked in this movie, it's because they don't know what water is.
'Tis firm. 'Tis firm as stone.
This was the same amount of surprise that my college girlfriend registered the first time we slept with each other. To her credit, I had consumed 12 highballs within 2 hours that night, so I understood her skepticism.
When the sun comes up, we're dust.
Not only did Winifred fail to mention this before they died the first time, she waits until way after they came back to tell them they only have like a couple hours to exist.
Nice going, Airhead.
Hey, look, I'm sorry, okay?
You know, there's almost as much nostalgia about this movie as there is for The Nightmare Before Christmas, and I'm here to tell you that that is wrong. This movie is balls. If this movie had balls, I would punch it right in those balls.
It's protected by magic.
Okay, cool. Can't be burned. What about throwing it in an ocean? What about maybe taking a knife to it and cutting the out of it? Only pyromaniacs think there's no other solution.
It's just a bunch of hocus pocus.
Rolls. We already did that, but I'm very much wanting these credits to roll already.
Come to mommy.
Afraid not.
This somehow works, as if magic is foiled by weight. No one will be seated while the achingly slow wirework holding the brooms manages to grind this movie down to a nub.
They can't touch us here, right? Well, they can't.
Wait, you mean you know they can raise the dead and specifically Winifred's old lover to come attack you? Also, when you said this was a hallowed ground earlier, you seemed pretty confident that the witches couldn't do anything while you were in the cemetery. But surely you knew they could fly with broomsticks, right? Especially if you know about their ability to raise the dead.
Oh, cheese and crust.
Cheese and crust is maybe the PGest version of Jesus Christ I've ever heard. I know this isn't a densely populated town, but there have been a bunch of people running around all night, and not one person has noticed the extremely boisterous and noisy flying women.
I'll have your guts for garters, girl.
That sounds uncomfortable, and we know that gut garters are so last season. Oh well, still beats that stars and garters line from X-Men The Last Stand.
Ready for them. Ready. Set up.
God, this movie's shouting. Basically the Halloween gender swap version of the Goonies, and I mean that in the worst possible way. Given the amount of moonlight, this lighter is doing jack other than continuing a bizarre product placement in this movie.
To convey gorgeous creatures such as yourselves to your most forbidden desires.
Jerry, this is why we only give you the Halloween night shift.
I told you I can't die.
Yeah, but you didn't say that no matter how badly your body was flattened, it would blow back up like a basketball. Immortality has so many different facets. It usually means you can't die of old age. But like vampires and Highlanders, there are ways to die.
I'm very confused. I smell children, but I don't see children.
Bless you.
Oh, off, Sister Act. I'm sure they're in costumes and but that little angel girl looked almost exactly like the little girl whose soul they sucked in the beginning of the movie. You might think Gary Marshall is only dressed as Satan, but once you see Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, Exit to Eden, and Raising Helen, you will know in your heart that this is no act.
Officer,
What's the problem?
Tell him.
go ahead.
Dude, even if he's not a real cop, can't you just say something like 3 psychotic grown women are actively chasing us? Can you help us not die right now?
Are you a virgin?
Nobody expects the Virgin Inquisition! I just realized this is Doug Jones, Mr. Shape of Water and Abe Sapien from Hellboy. Jesus, does this guy ever get to use his real face? Q2, movie. You've been giving me this finger for the entire runtime. Okay, guys, look, Gary Marshall is Penny Marshall's brother, and I don't want to live in a world where Gary Marshall and Penny Marshall play husband and wife. I bet you could explain a lot of the tone of this movie by listing the various recreational drugs that were popular in the early 90s.
Oh, great. How are we ever gonna find Mom and Dad in this place?
Yeah, the place is fairly big, I guess, but it shouldn't take any more than 10 minutes to find your parents or for them to notice you first. I'm wondering, with all the adults at this party, how do Allison's parents have a full-blown aristocrat party on the same night? Also, with the parents who stay home and the others who chaperone their kids trick-or-treating, that reduces the potential party population significantly. This town is not huge, so it's amazing both parties are so robust.
Oh my goodness, who must this charming young blood donor be?
It's amazing this guy is dressed and made up as Dracula, but that's not the scariest thing about him.
This cat here, Binks, right? He can talk. My brother's a virgin. He lit the black flame candle. The witches are back from the dead and they're after us. We need help.
How much candy have you had, honey?
God damn, the parents in this movie are worse than a fucking Charlie Brown holiday special. You could probably write an entire thesis on how casually horny this character is and how it has all to do with the plot, but for now, I'm content to just write us in.
Now the witch is back! And there's hell to pay.
You know what? I may actually owe Into the Woods an apology after watching this bullshit. I'd like to make a note here that these witches were completely confounded by a paved road earlier, but now they know what microphones and dance choreography are.
Cover your ears! I put a spell on you!
But the kids have been listening this whole time too. Is there an age limit to this spell?
Dance until you die!
Coincidentally, this was Steve Rubell's mandate for anyone that attended Studio 54 in the late 70s.
I smell scrod.
So wait, you're telling me that Mary's sense of smell is so good that it brought them here, exactly where Max and everybody is, but the scrod is clouding her senses? She's found the kids at least 3 times in this movie, despite tons of smells, but now her radar is off. Excuse me, 3:05? It wouldn't be because this is the only establishing shot you had from earlier and you just darkened it to make it look like it was nighttime, is it? Because it sure as hell isn't 3:05 a.m. Also, I'm wondering why they were able to get all the way to the school without Mary's wicked smell picking up their scent way beforehand, so that they simply wouldn't have time to set up this plan they've concocted. Also, schools are usually locked, right? Especially on Halloween night. I mean, it's impossible to lock doors more than they normally are, I suppose. But on this day of all days, they would get a double and triple check. What the kind of school has a kiln the size of a New York City studio apartment? Have they used this for other witches before? I see New Englanders prematurely celebrated in 1993 almost as much as they did at the end of the 2007 NFL regular season. Damn, dude, I'm impressed. They're already sleeping together? I guess his parents won't care when they get home and check up on them. I guess her parents won't care at all either. Sure, this is probably a totally chaste sleepover, but this is still a big step. And yes, perhaps the witches actually did put a spell on everybody at the party. That still doesn't explain why Max thinks he can just have a girl in his bed, no questions asked.
I want my book.
Oh, so let me get this straight. The witches burned 3 hours ago, as the now correct high school clock read midnight when everybody was acting a fool outside celebrating their murders. Why would it take 3 hours for magical death smoke to turn back into full-bodied witches? What the hell is Max planning to do with the spell book? Just keep it in his bed? He knows that motherfucker has an eyeball, right? So he wanted it to watch?
Hold my hand.
Way to go, Max, you're not a virgin anymore. Please, please, I believe it's magic. I believe it's magic, magic. Sure, it's incredibly convenient that the witches went to the window to see this light, but they wouldn't be the only people to notice it, even if it's only 5 o'clock. There should be numerous assholes seeing this incredible light show, right? Wait, a mop works just as well as a broom? Do they really need anything specific to make them fly then? Or can they just stick any long, phallic-shaped item between their legs and off they get?
We were just trying to help you.
Nothing good can come from this book.
And that is precisely all I will say about this entire situation, even though I'm fully aware about how dangerous it is.
I don't know. Something's not right.
The director weirdly decided to leave Vanessa Shaw's on-set comments about the production in the actual movie.
Come, little children.
Man, this movie really wants to be a musical, doesn't it? It's like a half-ass away from being a full quarter-ass musical, if I'm doing my calculations correctly. It is 5 o'clock, right? Some parents are up, correct? The is this Pied Piper nonsense at 5 goddamn clock?
Danny?
Once again, why are these two assholes immune from the siren song? Just as much children as the others, according to the witching logic.
It doesn't matter how young or old you are. You sold your soul!
This has to have been a verbatim rant by Kanye at last year's Kardashian Thanksgiving Day dinner table, doesn't it?
Daylight savings time.
Are you f***ing kidding me? This couldn't pass for daylight as Sylvester Stallone was stuck in the Holland Tunnel trying to get Amy Brenneman to safety. I know there's a psychological element to this, and these witches are stupid, but come on. They'd be doing everything to give Danny that potion right now, aside from the fact that they shouldn't even be feeling anything.
I want to get that little rat-faced kid that called me!
Yep, they have all the children in the world here to keep living, but Winifred's revenge boner is stronger than making sure they survive and getting Danny another day.
Are they following us?
No.
But, you know, they can fly on brooms, and may not be directly behind us, but
Pull over! Let me see your driver's permit.
okay, up until now, I've been letting the anachronistic sayings by these 300-plus-year-old witches go, since maybe they picked up a little lingo through the course of the night. But there's no f***ing way Winnie would know what this means, so I'm gonna retroactively add sins for all those other sayings. Is this the opposite of giving head? No wonder he started f***ing Winnie's sister all those years ago.
Billy, I think you dropped this.
I won't ask questions about how this head gets reattached after getting lopped off.
This'll teach you to call people ugly!
Oh yeah, I forgot. The whole reason for this revenge boner is that Danny called her ugly. Which, yeah, that was f***ing rude. But that's exactly what Dickhead McScrotumface called them earlier, and they already have him locked up and ready to go. But apparently Winifred was more upset about chicks than ugly, even though ugly is her surefire trigger word. Huh, I guess curiosity killed the cat. I mean, what is this f***ing ending? He drank the potion, so she's got to drain his life, but then he's trying to choke a witch while she's balancing on the broom so she doesn't touch the hallowed ground while she's trying to drain the young juice? Do I have that insane? Damn, that vacuum has tons of uses, doesn't it?
The witches are dead. My soul's finally free.
They were dead for 300 goddamn years, and it didn't f***ing matter. Yeah, sure, they had a pending escape route, but if we want to get technical here, they were f***ing dead. Winifred even mentioned going to hell and finding it lovely earlier.
Hey, Max, thanks for lighting the candle.
Results-oriented thinking.
Zachary Binks!
Damn, this movie just threw a happy ending kitchen sink at us, didn't they? Thackeray's ghost can tell everybody that everything is okay. His ghost sister just shows up out of nowhere, even though her soul was never trapped or anything. She was just plain dead. I'm half expecting Moonlight Graham to show up and save Danny from choking. I guess this is supposed to mean there was going to be a sequel? Sequel. Holy
I will never be the woman with the perfect hair who can wear white and not spill on it.
A message from the CinemaSins universe! Hey, did you know that we here at CinemaSins have a podcast?
I did not know that.
It's true. It's called Sincast, and we've been doing it since all the way back in 2015. Seriously.
Excuse me. Exactly how long have I been asleep?
But since you're currently on YouTube, you may prefer to listen to stuff here, right?
You're goddamn right.
For that reason, we're debuting the official Sincast YouTube channel. Yes! You'll be able to listen to sober movie analysis.
This movie does have so many good moments that I do think ultimately it'll be easy for most people to overlook the stuff that doesn't work quite as well.
In-depth dives into a variety of cinematic topics.
No, this movie is absurd. It's my type of absurd, though.
Interviews with amazing guests.
Something in me said, just shut up. And Miss Lansbury said, oh, I couldn't. Well, all right. And she sang the first couple of lines a cappella, and the place went wild.
And much, much more.
Yeah, it wasn't until I watched you in bed at the hospital that he finally gets the girl at the end.
I want a whole list of alternative titles.
We'll be adding new episodes weekly, and we'll be uploading our backlog of episodes that have been previously published. So, subscribe today, and we hope you enjoy listening as much as we love talking.
That's what I sound like.
Wake up, darling. Yes. Open your eyes.
Wait a minute! You didn't learn how World War II ended. We won!
Wait a minute. Everybody pays the toll.
You gotta pay the troll toll. If you want to get into that boy's hole, you gotta pay the troll toll to get in.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up!
I silent mercury purify and spit upon the 12
Don't listen! Don't look right! Keep your eyes shut!
I suggest we form a calming circle.
Je suis calme!
This cat here, Binks, right? He can talk. My brother's a virgin. He lit the black flame candle.
Meanwhile, I'm dating a virgin. I'm in this contest. Something's gotta give.